Hey everybody, it's Norm from Tested, and if you're watching this video on the day it was published, well, for many of you, it will probably be May 4th, 2020, so happy Star Wars Day, May the 4th day, if you're someone who celebrates that. Obviously, around the internet today, there's a recognition and celebration of the universe of Star Wars, and I wanted to participate in that even though we're working from home and sheltering in place during this lockdown. And in making some of the videos that I've been doing from home, some of you have noticed that, Norm, you have a lot of collectibles. You have a lot of stuff in your office and your living room. And so I'm gonna use this video as a chance to do a little bit of show and tell of some of my favorite pieces from the Star Wars universe. And many of those pieces are in the 6th scale variety that come from Sideshow Collectibles. There is no Comic-Con this year, as you may have heard. One of the favorite things I like to do when I go to San Diego Comic-Con is head over to the Sideshow booth and walk over that giant booth where they have the display cases, take photos of the new quarter scale figures, premium format figures, the 6 scale stuff they have, as well as from their partners. But in lieu of being able to walk through that kind of statue garden that they have set up, I decided to pick up this book from them. This is called They're Collecting a Galaxy, The Art of Sideshow, and they released this in December, and it's a kind of a visual history of their universe of Star Wars figures, all the way back to 2006 when Sideshow was primarily a company that made military-style 12-inch figures, and then they got a Star Wars license, and it's been kind of really impressive from there. I love that not only they have incredible photographs of the characters that they've done, but also gives me a better appreciation for the design work and the engineering that goes into so much of the work, from the articulation in the body forms that they have underneath the characters themselves, to the material choices, to all the artists that they have working there who went from traditional hand sculpting to now digital sculpting, and all the different ways, even designing things like droids. I love seeing all this schematic work, some of the early sketches they have from their characters. And not only does this cover their 6 scale line, it does cover their premium format quarter scale line and their legendary scale busts, as well as things from their more offbeat like mythos lines. Really, really fun book, and I'm by no means a completionist when it comes to these. I only pick up the ones that that really strike my eye and catch my eye, and I think I have the space for, and so this is a nice complement to my collection. But speaking of the collection, I pulled a few pieces off of the shelves to talk about, and I'm going to show you this. This actually came from Kenner. This is one of my favorites. This is an Admiral Ackbar figure from their 1997 Collector's Series line. Now, I picked this up, I think, in about 5-6 years after that. But this is one of the first Star Wars collectibles that I bought that was in that 6 scale 12-inch line. And what really caught my eye and was striking for me about this was, one, it was just a Kenner figure, and Kenner they've been doing 12-inch characters for a long time, and this was their way in the late 90s of bringing that back. But I love the Admiral Ackbar sculpt here. It doesn't need to be super lifelike because, he was basically a foam latex mask, right? But the cut and sew of the fabric here, the way that this soft vest has pilled over the years, it's exactly how I would imagine that costume kind of wearing over time. It's, of course, articulates and posable, and even things like the boots and the trim here on the belt. This was just one of those things that when I picked it up, even though it was categorically a toy, it felt like something I could put on my desk and be something I could just appreciate for the design and the fabrication of a mass market toy. And then that, of course, started me down the line of looking into things like the 6 scale figures from Sideshow Collectibles. And so we're gonna jump forward a little bit to 2015, and this is probably my favorite piece, favorite Star Wars piece in my collection. This is, of course, Hoth, Luke on the Tauntaun, and by 2015, Sideshow had really hit their stride in terms of creating highly detailed characters in both the likeness of the face of Mark Hamill's likeness here, as well as the detail in the clothing and the accessories. So you have all this nice, fine cut and sew work in his Hoth outfit, from the patches to the quilted pattern on his vest here, to his badges. You got his tiny lightsaber here, as well as everything on the Tauntaun itself. And the Tauntaun is really what makes this one of my favorites. This is such a beautiful sculpt. You know, they've done vehicles before. They had a really great speeder bike with the Scout Trooper. That was awesome. But this, you know, we've seen, for example, Phil Tippett's sculpted Tauntaun maquette that he did, and that Regal Robot has a version of. But I love the Sideshow artist's interpretation of the Tauntaun, because it has a maybe more exaggerated look. It's not articulated, you know, it's fine that it's polystone. I actually like they chose to do a sculpted, hard polystone look as opposed to trying to make it a soft fur-like appearance on this. I think that mixes well with this figure, and it's still mixed media as well. The reins are cloth. I love all the different soft materials they chose on the blankets here, essentially Luke's camping accessories, and it's of course still poseable. So I love having him in this kind of on the lookout pose with his binoculars and holding the reins taut here. They were also interchangeable heads with the Tauntaun, and this is the one that I like. This lives in my living room next to my TV because I love this so much. And then move another couple years down the line. Sideshow also did a line of droids. They did R2-D2 deluxe figure, which I have and I really like. But in the same vein, this is one of my favorites. Is of course R5-D4. He only makes a brief appearance in A New Hope, but a very important character in the Star Wars universe, and well represented here in 6th scale. And 6th scale is actually pretty big too, but has a nice weathering job, great details here, little accessories. And yes, he does have pop-up bad motivator. Yeah, this is just lovely. I think this is out of issue, but it's still available on places like eBay, and that 6th scale R2 Deluxe, I think Sideshow is reissuing that, available for pre-order now. Something also more recent, this came out, I believe, a year and a half ago, and this was something that, you know, when they announced it, I wasn't so sure of, but it's quickly become one of my favorites. It's from their Mythos line, and it's Obi-Wan Kenobi, but it's Obi-Wan in a state that we've never seen him on film before, or even animated before. It's post-Clone Wars, but before A New Hope. So this is Obi-Wan, kind of the nomad, pre-hermit Obi-Wan, as he lived on Tatooine, a little younger. He does have Sir Alec Guinness likeness, but it's a younger Sir Alec Guinness, kind of maybe the Lawrence of Arabia era Sir Alec Guinness. And this is a completely new creation from the Sideshow artist team. Like they, you know, tasked their design team into imagining what Obi-Wan would look like, what would he be wearing, what as he lived on Tatooine, kind of watching over Luke. And so you have his, you know, Clone Wars armor, you have the Tusken Raider rifles, even things like lightsabers, Anakin's and Qui-Gon's that he would have been holding, binoculars here as well. But just the thing I love really most about this is the proportions look really, really great. Oftentimes, when you look at the proportions of a 6th scale figure, that especially the one that has a human likeness, the head might seem a little too big, or it's just not as, you know, how you imagine the heroic pose to be like, which is why sometimes the more fixed pose, premium format stuff looks better, and that can almost be a little more exaggerated the way that you would see drawn in a comic book. But this one works so well because of the layering of the clothes and the silhouette of the pack that he has. He has these kind of tattered Jedi robes, and again, just really great job they did on all the cut and sew here. His lightsaber in here, and I really like him with these interchangeable hands in this pose where he's kind of carrying this heavy pack. A really good likeness as well, and it's one of those that you can pose him in a lot of fun ways, take pictures, and kind of evoke, what would this character be thinking? A lot of regret, remorse, wistful thinking as he is in hiding on Tatooine. I think this one is still available now, and it's clear that Sideshow is really proud of this character and this design because they put it on the cover of their book as well. And the book is something I highly recommend, even if you're not someone who collects 6-scale figures, but I think it does give you a really good insight into that design process and appreciation for the concept artists, the sculptors, the painters, and the photographers at Sideshow who get to play in this universe. But if you are someone who collects 6-scale figures, I'd love to see what's in your collection. Please post your pictures and links to your own albums in the comments below. Have a wonderful week. Happy May the 4th, and I'll see you next time. Bye.